In this session, let's primarily focus on the regulatory aspect or probably the governance aspect. We also have another chapter on working capital management. We'll take that slightly after this one because this is more lighter in nature and probably more of a theoretical reading compared to doing some kind of calculation. So, what we'll do is we'll first try to understand from the corporate governance standpoint, what is that every company has to typically follow, and what is it the company is, what are the various things which the company has to get into from the shareholder satisfaction standpoint. See, because what typically is happening is shareholders buy the shares of the company, but they don't get involved with the day-to-day operations and management. It's like you have invested in a business, but you are not taking care of the operations of the business because of the size of the investment as a whole in the business. You are becoming a very minority partner in the business, and because of that, how do you know that your money, whatever you have put in buying the shares of the company, is put to the right use within the company? And from that standpoint, the norms of corporate governance has come into picture. When we say corporate governance, the intention is primarily looking at what is that the company is doing for the benefit of the shareholders. What are the things that are there within the company which ensures that the shareholders are not getting deceived. The money of the shareholders is not used in an improper manner or for fraudulent purposes. Whatever the investment that has come in, whatever the capital that has come in from the shareholders, everything is put to the right use. That is what is being mentioned in a kind of a manual called corporate governance manual. Every public listed company should maintain that as a part of its corporate governance practice. So it should be there as a part of the annual report of the company, or it can publish it separately, saying this is our corporate governance scenario. What it is primarily, this is also the role of the finance department within a company. Come up with a corporate governance manual, make sure that all the activities of the company are in line with the corporate governance practices itself. Because at the end of the day, shareholder is the person who has put in money into the business. Apart from promoter is also one of the shareholders. So shareholder is the guy who has put in money into the business, whereas employee is the person who is taking a salary for the services which he is offering. Or manager is a person who is taking a salary for whatever he is doing. The end objective of a manager in any company or of an employee in any company is to work in line with the shareholders. Make sure every task which they take up, it increases the value of the shareholders. It's not their own pet, because they have nothing to do with the company. If there is a loss, it's a loss to the shareholder. It's a loss to the promoter, but it may not be a loss to the manager or an employee, because he has no financial stake. He's like a person who is taking a fixed income as a salary for the services which he is offering, right? So how does the company make sure that whatever it is doing, it is in the interest of the shareholders itself? So that's where every company will come out with some set of controls, processes, procedures which are running the company. And every company will have a set of people called board of directors. These are the people whose main role is to ensure that the shareholders' interests are fully protected. So it will clearly define what are the roles, responsibilities of the management, the board of directors, whose major role is protecting the shareholders' interests. and what are the roles of the shareholders. And primarily, some of the key things which we need to understand in this process is the board of directors should be independent of the management. Probably you have to just look at different companies' corporate governance practices. Some companies we will see that majority of the board of directors are again the managers of the company, CEOs, CFOs. These are the people who are again there in the board. But for some companies, there will be a large number of independent directors who don't play any kind of management position in the company. Those are called as independent directors. Whereas CEO, CFO who are involved in the regular day-to-day operations of the company, they are not non-independent kind of directors or executive kind of directors. So non-executive directors and executive directors. So as an investor or as an analyst, I need to see the mix of these two. Because if management and board both are one and the same, management decisions will be same as board decision. So board is nowhere acting on behalf of the investor, on behalf of the shareholder, but the major intention should be board is existing because it has to act on behalf of the shareholder, because the shareholder cannot involve in day-to-day operations of the business. Board is treated as a representative of the shareholders. Board is not treated as a representative of the management at all. So whenever the issue comes up, the first people who are questioned are the board of directors only, because they have to be a representative of shareholder, and every task, every major activity of the company will move forward only if the board of directors have given their approval, and the board of directors have to give their approval only if they are fully confident that this activity of the management, this project of the management will increase the shareholder value. Right? So that's where we have to ensure that the board is more and more independent, and all the people in the company, they are acting in an ethical manner, and all the financial reporting and everything. See, every company publishes its annual report, which contains so many things, including the financial performance and corporate governance activities and the operations, the plan for the next year. A lot of things go as a part of the annual report. Make sure that the annual report contains all these things, and it is published every year without failing. Make sure that whatever the company wants to convey to the shareholders, that entire thing is conveyed and communicated. So some of the practices, because the majority of the shareholders are minorities, right? We very little stake. So the corporate governance practices are primarily targeted towards them. So majorly they should be focused on independence of the board. So if you open probably the annual report of Infosys, the annual report of some other company, there will be a clear-cut demarcation saying these are all independent directors, these are executive directors. There will be a clear-cut mention, which means these guys, they are just on the board. Probably I may be a board of some company, but I may not be involved with the operations of that company at all. Only the final decision, and that too, the decision, the only perspective I will see is, will it benefit the shareholders or will it not? I'm not saying is it a good decision or a bad decision. As a board member, my job is to evaluate whatever the decision the company is willing to take, will it benefit the shareholder or will it not benefit the shareholder? Prime stuff, right? Is it something, a pet project of the management, which may not give any benefit to the shareholder immediately? Then the board has to object that kind of move, right? Probably in the typical Satyam Mehta story, we have seen the same thing. The board has objected the management buying out of Metas, and that is where the whole thing got broken out. So board, if it really senses that something wrong is going in the investor's way, they can very well object the move of the company and the management. So if there are more independent people, it becomes more and more objective. Otherwise, there is a lot of subjectivity, lot of undue influence, all these things will come up. So if the company really wants to promote a kind of image with the investors, it will make sure that there are a lot of independent directors on the board. And so the major intention being the protection of shareholders' long-term interests. And some of the most desirable things are, let the board not contain the CEO or the ex-CEO of the company. And also evaluate the regular meetings of the board without the management's presence. So board only meeting. So each and every details of the board meeting also are present as a part of the annual report. Who all are present? Right? So any board member just absent for so many meetings, they are all kind of hindrances. They are all probably need to be evaluated by the analyst. So regular meetings without the management, because even if a CEO or CFO is there in the meeting, probably it may do some kind of biasing. So only the board meeting. And shareholders, see, the major thing that needs to be looked at from this perspective is shareholders having a voice in the governance. Shareholder, if he is raising some issue or if he is giving some suggestions for improvement, because he is also a kind of a owner, right? So the shareholders' voice in the governance and the operations process of the company. If there is an independent board, shareholders' voice is heard. Okay, if he is giving a worthy suggestion or if he is giving if he is raising a kind of an issue or a complaint, some kind of resolution of those things, the mechanism would be drawn